Welcome to Biz Champions. I'm your host, Dr. Wendy Norfleet with Norfleet Integrated Solutions, sitting in for David Sillick. And with me today is Ron Lindsey with Strategic Rail LLC. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, Ron, you're here representing your company, Strategic
Yes.
Rail. And for those, I cheated and read about it.
Oh.
But for those who don't, tell us a little bit about Strategic Rail.
Strategic Rail is a consulting firm, basically for the rail industry. I'm the only employee. And when I get involved with major projects, like I have in Kazakhstan and Egypt, I bring in people I know. So I'm a consultant that does studies. I have a blog where I write about my theories about railroading, and that's pretty much what it is. All railroading, 30 years, yeah.
But the railroading, what you do is really focused on traffic control.
On
correct?
safety of the railroad.
Well, traffic control, but the safety of it. You don't
That's
want
right.
trains to hit or
That's
to
right.
be. So tell us a little bit about, because that's so important. I've been a train rider for years, and I've been on trains that we've had to be bussed off and stayed extra night somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's probably a traffic management issue, but basically, roughly 20 years ago, I designed a system for CSX. I was employed by them to develop something called, we didn't know what it was going to be called, but it ended up being called positive train control. So I was the architect for that system. It keeps trains from hitting trains, keeps trains from overspeeding, keeps trains from going through what we call work gangs along the track, and it keeps trains from going through a switch that's aligned the wrong way. So it's been involved now. It's now installed nationally.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, it was. Really. I mean, I just designed it. I didn't have to put it in.
Right. But I mean, still, it took from your design, all the safety
That's
came
right.
about.
And then I did the same thing, actually more intense in Egypt and for Kazakhstan. Design a different type of traffic control system for them because their stuff is really in bad shape. And they never installed it, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've worked on, in my computer science life, I worked on some projects that we did a lot of stuff for, designed it, everything worked, and unfortunately the company, we got paid, but the company didn't use it.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a sad thing in Egypt. They really don't give a darn about their people. I honestly don't. And people, there's just elements. They're not really.
Hopefully, I would like to think it was another reason besides that they didn't install it.
No, it's a military democracy, and they don't spend money.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a sad thing.
So I know you love trains, you write about it, you have a blog, like you said, about what you do and your theories and what you predict, but you also have another blog.
Yeah, I do.
And so tell us a little bit about that, because that one sounds a little bit fun.
Actually, it is a fun blog. I started a couple years ago. I used to have a publication, a quarterly journal, that I would put out on technology, and then at the beginning of each issue, I would write a story. So I got into the mood of writing stories. So 2 years ago, I decided not to charge anymore for my strategic blog for that stuff, for the journal, and to start writing stories. So I created this blog called justbetweenusblog.com. That's one word, justbetweenusblog.com. And I write about stories, recipes, travel, and just thinking. And one of my favorite stories is called A Parasol in Paris.
Okay.
And it's about this parasol that goes through different people and how it changes their lives. It's really very charming, because I go to Paris a lot, and so I know the city very well.
So is a lot of your recipes French?
Actually, they are. There's a few.
I like French food.
Yeah, I mean, there are not that many recipes, but my favorite is gratin dauphinois, which is basically their scalloped potatoes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like scalloped potatoes.
Yeah, it sounds complicated.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
They have some wonderful names for food.
Oh, they do.
And some of them it's just like common food, but the names like just.
Well, yeah, just listening to French. People say, well, you must speak French. I said, no, I speak menu French. In other words, I can read the menu, and that's pretty much it.
I used to speak French fluently. I was born in Michigan, and so, the border's right there. So we spent at least 3 or 4 times a week we were in Canada. And my best friend was French Canadian, and her grandparents were raising her, and they only spoke French.
Yes, that's.
And so you have to learn, because if you want something while you're there.
That's a good way to learn, I guess.
Yeah, you're immersed.
I've made many mistakes in Paris on my language. Did you know that pasta, or what was it? I forget the word right, but it didn't mean pasta. It meant something else, totally different. I forget what it meant. Anyway,
yeah. But I mean, that's about a lot of words. I worked in the auto industry for a while, and the Nova, it did really well here when it was in its heyday.
Right.
But then when we took it to Mexico, it means no go, so nobody will buy it.
Right.
And so they had to scratch it and rename it, remodel it, and everything. And so there's a lot of funny stories about that.
So,
what happened in the
going back to that blog for a moment, I also offer people to send me their stories, and I'll publish them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have
So
one
is there
person,
like any requirements on the stories?
just has to meet those 4 categories of food, travel, just thinking,
Okay.
and what the heck.
Any length or anything?
Well, no, I haven't challenged that
Okay.
yet. I haven't been challenged that way.
Okay.
The Parasol in Paris goes on and on
Oh,
and
okay,
on.
it's like a chapter type thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, but it's I don't charge. I'm hoping at some point somebody will say, "I like the way you write. Why don't you write a story for my grandparents or
Okay.
write for my children?" So I'm waiting for that.
Okay.
That's
That's just your retirement dream, right?
That's right, exactly. That and Social Security.
So if, with your blog and if someone's interested in this and not just necessarily for writing, but just to read it or, want some travel advice, what, last minute travel advice or tip would you give them?
Well, if they're going to France, I do that occasionally. If they're going to Riviera or Paris especially, I can just read my stories.
Okay.
Actually, 2 of the travel logs are about Villefranche-sur-Mer inside the village and outside the village.
Okay.
So it's very detailed when it comes to that village on the Riviera. And Paris, in the Parasol in Paris story, I make a lot of references to various locations. So it's a good story for that reason. I've actually advised some people going to Paris to just read that story. They'll know where to go.
Well, Ron, thank you so much for sharing, what you do in the railroad industry and also what you do for fun. I really
Yes, of course.
appreciate that.
I have other fun things too, but
Sure you do.
skiing.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, love. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Biz Champions, and we'll see you next time on Buzz TV.